2 blocks, either a full circle resistance band or one that has handles, and then a blanket, kind of folded narrow, and then a foam roller. And it doesn't really matter if it's short or long. Today I'm using my short one. And we're going to start seated or kneeling on a block. So whatever comfortable position where you can have your spine straight. And I'm probably going to adjust how I am angled so that you can see different things throughout. But today we are working on the movement of the shoulder blades or the scapula, and they move in many different ways. So we're going to start first just by exploring those. So start with your arms down by your side, fists kind of punching towards the floor and elbows locked out. And we're just going to lift them up and take them down. Lift them up and take them down. So as you're taking them up and down, keep the elbows locked out, the arms really stiff, and notice how the shoulder blades glide up and down the rib cage. So keep doing that. Our rib cage starts all the way up here. It's all of this space through here. So just start to feel how they glide up and down. And then hold both of them up. We're going to move one arm at a time. So let's start with the right one. Punch the fist kind of down and out and up. Feel how that shoulder blade and stay moving up and down while the other one is locked stiff to the rib cage with the fist punching towards the floor. Next time you punch the right fist down, now just move the left. Punching the fist down and out to feel the shoulder blade glide up and down. Lift them both up. This is called elevation. Like an elevator goes up, we elevate. As we go down, punch down and out, you feel the tips of the shoulder blades go down towards your hips. That's depression, like when we're depressed, we go down. We're going to start to move the other way. I'm going to change angle so that you can see. This time we're going to bring the arms, and we'll do one arm at a time. So just start with the right arm. Bring your other hand and wrap it across the bottom of your rib cage and grab the outer edges of the right side of your rib cage. So if you were to punch the fist forward, you feel how the shoulder blade slides around the back outer edge of the rib cage. And as you are acting like you're plugging the arm into the socket, the shoulder blade kind of glides towards the spine. So just do that a few times. Punch the fist forward, feel how the shoulder blade glides forward. That's protraction. For means forward, or pro means forward. Retraction means to do over, so it goes backwards. So forward and back. Forward and back. Notice that with your hand on the bottom of the rib cage, the rib cage and the spine aren't moving at all. It's just the shoulder blade wrapping around the side of your rib cage, towards and away from your spine. Now wrap your right arm around. Punch your left arm straight out in front. As you reach the shoulder blade forward, protract it, you go forward, and you retract, you plug it in, goes towards the spine or backwards. So just past that movement of forward and back, forward and back. Notice if you can keep your rib cage still, and just feel the sensation of the shoulder blade wrapping around the side, back side of the rib cage. Good. So those are two of the movements that the shoulders make. We're gonna now start with the hands down by the side, palms up, thumbs pointing out. And as you bring them out in front, you're gonna flip the palms so the backs of the palms face towards each other, thumbs down, the backs of the hands. And as you open, flip the palms back open. Each time you come up to bring the palms out, the backs of the hands together, go a little bit higher. And as you bring it together, reach the arms forward. So we're creating that protraction. Each time getting the hands or the arms a little higher. Until maybe you're above the head. So this is upward rotation of the scapula. You can see that my bicep is close to my ear and the outer edge of the shoulder blade lifts up. The inner edge is going down. Come all the way down. Start with the palms facing backwards and the thumbs down. And as you come up, this time you're going to point palms out or palms up, pinky sides touch. Thumbs down, palms back. Come a little higher, palms up, pinkies touch. Back down. Each time getting a little bit higher, feeling that protraction, the scapula, the shoulder blades wrapping around the edges of the shoulder of the rib cage as you reach the arms up and together. And feel them just going down and in as you bring the hands down. Next time you come up, stay up. Bring the arms as close to your ears as you can. Pinkies touching, palms facing backwards, and reach up without pressing the rib cage forward. Good. Bring it down. So that's upward rotation with a different movement in the shoulder blades. So these are the main things that we're going to work with today. These different movements of scapular rotation. You want to think of your rib cage as a platform for your shoulder blade. So the rib cage kind of pops out or it's concave, and the shoulder blade is convex. They fit together kind of like a puzzle piece, and the shoulder blade should slide, staying connected rather than flaring or winging off the rib cage. So we're going to do some things today to kind of really get that in our bodies. So we're going to start with, we did this last week, building a little platform for the bottom of our rib cage. So I have two blocks stacked flat on top of each other. Depending on how long your torso is, you may only use one block kind of on its second highest level. You might have to stock one block on top of the other, but finding the blocks sitting back on your heels with the blocks in between the thighs close to your pubic bone. And then you're going to take your blanket and place it on top so you have a nice soft surface in which to lie. And I'm going to show you first what this is going to look like. So we're going to come forward. So watch first. And I'm going to lie over so that the bottom of my rib cage is lying on the block. My head may or may not touch the floor, but my nose is pointing to my block sack. We're going to start in this position first with our elbows lying kind of in line with your knees. And just relax, forearms on the ground, palms spread wide. Once you have this set up, you can go ahead and come into it. You may have to come in and out to adjust a couple of times, but in this position, you should be able to relax. Your hips should be closer towards your heels, so you should get a nice stretch in your lower back. It is slightly rounded or very rounded. My hips are not on my heels, but they're pretty daggone close to my heels. So adjust your block to a level that's comfortable. If this is not comfortable on your knees or in your hips, you can sit on a hard chair and create that block between your thighs on the seat of the chair. Once you're here, let your head hang heavy towards the floor. If your head touches, make sure it's the top of your head, not your forehead. And you're looking at the block. You can close your eyes, and we're just going to breathe. And in this position, as you breathe, you feel the breath moving into the lower abdomen area where the belly is kind of pressing on the edges of the block. And what you may find is that you also feel that this helps to expand that back and side rib area. This also creates a lovely platform for your shoulder blades to rest on. So you're not using your forearms pressing down into the floor. You could actually easily lift the forearms off the floor. Just take a few more breaths here. And bring your awareness to your right hand. My elbow is in line with my knee and the forearm is on the ground. I'm going to stretch my right hand up on the floor. I'm going to keep my hand on the floor, but if I can lift the elbow, if I'm able to take the arm far enough and keep the hand on the ground, the elbow may lift off the floor. You don't want to force that. If you don't have good flexion in your shoulder, that might be hard. I'm just taking it forward and back, tapping my knee each time, palm on the ground. Give a slightly different variation. Keep the hand on the ground, but turn the thumb up to face the sky, so just the pinky edge is on the ground. Now stretch that right arm forward again. Back. Keep the forearm on the ground as long as you can until it naturally lifts, if you're able to take the arm that far out. So we're just sliding the arm up and down, feeling the shoulder blade glide along the rib cage into flexion and out of flexion. Good. Let's switch to the left arm. So start knee and elbow touching, and then keep the forearm on the ground. Slide the left arm forward as far as you can without moving anything other than the arm. So if you feel your rib cage shift to the side, just don't take the arm up that high. And you may feel that there's a huge difference between one side and the other side. I feel a big difference. And then after a few rounds of that, flip the thumb up to point towards the sky, keep the edge stays on the ground, slide the arm forward, and then back to touch the knee. We're taking the shoulder blades into upward rotation. We're not forcing the elbow to straighten, because if we do that, we might have to borrow from our spine. We want everything to stay still except for that arm. Take a break. Bring the elbows a little wider, and now bring the palms of your hands to the floor, right outside of your knees. We're going to lift the chest away from the floor. The head's going to go with it. So your head, your eyes are looking straight down at the ground. Your ribs are still resting on the blocks. Now lift the hands off the floor without moving the spine. Touch the floor again. Stretch the spine long. Neck is long. Chin is in towards the throat. Lift the hands. Feel the shoulder blades retract or go towards the spine. And then touch the floor again. So we're moving just the shoulder blades, feeling them wrap around the edges of the ribs to touch the floor, and then move towards the spine as we lift the hands off the floor. going between retraction with hands off the floor, protraction as we bring the hands back to the floor. Good. Lower the hands to the floor, lower the head back to the floor. We're going to put these two things together. So keep the hands in line with the knees. We're going to draw a rainbow with the hands, bringing it over the head. Elbows and forearms touch the floor. And then we're going to draw the rainbow back, hands and back beside the knees. Draw it forward, elbows land on the ground. Draw it back, hands in line. Do that a few more times. Just feeling how the shoulder blades stay connected to the rib cage. Very little movement. Anywhere between the shoulder blades and then the shoulder blades. Good. Come up. We're going to take this to the wall. So we're going to need your band. We're going to start actually first standing. So the reason we used the block under the rib cage, oftentimes when we don't have the ability to bring the arm straight over our head, we borrow from the rib cage. So we flare the ribs forward and able to feel like we're actually taking the arm beside our ear. When we had our rib cage resting on the block, it keeps the rib cage in flat place. So as we start to use a little bit more load and move our shoulder blades, I want you to imagine that the rib cage is still supported by that block. So we're going to take the front of your ribs in towards each other and then move them towards your spine, so towards your back body. So taking your bands in your hands on either side of your legs, you're going to grab the bands beside your thighs and stand on the band. And Lisa, double up the band. So I have it grabbed like this, so it's doubled up. And then I'm standing on both the loops. Good. So in this position, stand straight. Feel the crown of your head reach towards the floor and imagine the blocks underneath your rib cage, pushing your rib cage slightly back without collapsing forward. And we're going to start just using elevation and depression. So we'll start both shoulders first. So you're pulling the shoulders up towards the ears and letting them draw down. Sometimes it helps to close the eyes and just notice, do you feel your hips start to thrust forward and your ribs start to thrust forward? Think of hips staying right over your heels and rib cage stacked right over your pelvis. Next time you lift the shoulders, keep both shoulders lifted and let just the right shoulder drop. Lift it back up. Let just the left shoulder drop. Lift it back up. Another thing you may notice as you do this is that we try to pull with our elbow. So keep the arms straight. And just let the shoulder blade be what lifts the shoulder blade up. Good. Let both come down. Check rib cage, stacked over the shoulder or stacked over the pelvis. We're going to move through protraction and retraction with this. So take the arms away from your thighs. And then draw a circle to bring them out in front of you. And draw that circle backwards. So elbows stay straight. So you're not trying to pull the bands closer. You're just trying to isolate them so that you can feel the shoulder blades wrap around the sides as you bring the fists together in front and feel the shoulder blades move towards the spine. Good. And nothing's really moving other than the shoulder blades wrapping around to go forward and wrapping around to go backward. Retracts. Good. Release the band. And we're going to come back to that block and work with protraction on our stack. So you may want to watch this. We're going to set up the same way that we just did. Having the blocks pretty close to your PP foam. I'm starting with my hips on my heels, and then I'm going to fold over the block. This time we're going to lift up, neck is straight, and we're going to take one arm to thread it under. The other hand is going to interlace the fingers. We're going to hold for a stretch first. You'll notice my shoulder, my head's just hanging, but I'm pulling with this top arm and moving my rib cage into my shoulder blade. After we hold for a second, we're going to then rotate open and rotate close. So it's like you're rolling the rib cage inside of your scapula. So come down into the starting position, both elbows on the floor, underneath your shoulder blade or underneath your shoulders. We're going to start with the right hand. So the right hand is going to reach underneath or behind your left upper arm and reach it as far across as you can. You'll start to notice that you start to kind of roll in, the rib cage rolls into the shoulder blade. You're going to walk your left hand over, grab, interlace your fingers, and start to straighten your left arm as you pull the right arm off to the left. If your head hangs to the ground, great. If not, just let it hang. But as you push with your left hand and straighten your left elbow, you will feel your rib cage roll into the front of your right shoulder blade. Take a few breaths here. Then release the left hand. Bring the left hand to rest in your lower back. Bring your right elbow down to the ground, right in line with your blocks. Make a fist with your left hand and punch it into the floor in front of your left knee. So punch the right fist down into the floor in front of the left knee. The elbow into the ground, and then you're going to roll your rib cage to open your chest to the left. Then roll back down, maybe look at your right knee. Punch fist, punch elbow, roll open, chest to the left. Roll down, chest to the right, maybe look at your right knee. Punch right fist down, right elbow down, roll chest open to the left. Keep punching fist and forearm as you roll chest to right knee. One more time, fist, elbow, roll open. Fist, elbow, roll fist. Good. Bring the left forearm back down. Bring the right forearm back down. Drop the head. Allow the forearms to come beside your body. Backs of the hand resting towards your, on the floor, fingers pointing towards your toes. Just pause to notice the difference between the right shoulder blade and the left shoulder blade. And then bring your elbows in line with your knees again. Come up to where your shoulders are stacked over your elbows, forearms on the ground. We're going to take our left hand this time. Reach the arm behind your left arm. Or right arm. Reach the left arm over to the right. Let the head hang. Interlace your right fingers into your left.
And start to pull the left arm a little bit more over to the right as you straighten your right arm. Just take a few breaths here. Noticing how the shoulder blade starts to kind of wrap around the outer side of the rib cage, starting to kind of fold into a twist. And then let the left elbow rest on the ground. Fist of the left hand punches down into the floor in front of the right. Bring your right hand behind your back. We create the rotation by punching first the left fist down, then the left elbow. Roll the rib cage into the left shoulder blade as you open the chest open to the right. Keep punching fist, keep punching elbow, and roll the chest, close, gaze at your left knee. Fist, elbow, roll open. Fist, elbow, close. So we want to continue to push the fist and the elbow down to create some stability in this protraction and retraction as we rotate the rib cage inside the front of your left shoulder. Go ahead and return forearms to the ground. Let the head hang towards the floor, stretch the arms beside your shins, palms face up. Let the shoulder blades relax. So this protraction is one of the most challenging movements for most people to get into their shoulder blades. So we're going to come one more time up onto our elbows. And we're going to try to lower just the chest towards the floor. And then push the forearms and the elbows into the ground to lift the chest away from the floor. So the lower rib cage continues to stay on the blocks. As you lower the rib cage and the chest towards the floor and push away. As you push away, you're really pushing your forearms into the ground to create that pushing away from the floor movement. It's going to help to kind of create that protraction, that pushing. Good. Go ahead and lift up. We're now going to take this to the wall. And if a lot of these things don't make sense, that's okay. Keep trying them. Eventually, hopefully they will. But a lot of times that the movement in the shoulder blade can be really hard to sense. So we're going to start with the band right below the tips of your shoulder blades. You should have two loops in which to place your hands. So the loop should be in the palm side and the band is under the armpit. We're going to come to the wall and place your hand about shoulder distance away, up. Place the hands on the wall in line with your shoulders. So you can imagine the block crop still at your rib cage, and it's pushing the ribs back towards the spine as you keep your hands on the wall. And then allow the band to pull you back without flaring your ribs towards the wall. So allow the chest to move towards the wall and then push the hands to push the chest away. So continue to do this and just notice what it feels like in your shoulder blades. So as you push the back into the band, you'll feel the shoulder blades kind of glide out on the edges of your rib cage. And as you go towards the wall, you'll feel your ribs kind of glide down the inside of your arms. The elbows stay straight the whole time. And you're just trying to make the movement with that protraction and retraction of your shoulder blades. Take a break from that. But keep the setup. We're going to go to something slightly different. You're going to take the forearm like so. So it'll be straight across. This side, the pinky side of your fist is going to punch into the wall. So you're going to start with one forearm on the wall. The other arm's going to wrap across, still holding the band, and grab the opposite rib cage. So you're going to start forearm kind of parallel to your chest. Push the fist and the elbow into the wall and move your chest towards and away from the wall by pushing the part of your back that's aligned with the band into the rib cage, or into the rib cage into the band. And then you're going to add a rotation. So rotate open slightly, and then rotate towards the arm on the band. Rotate open slightly, rotate towards the upper arm on the band. If this is uncomfortable, just don't rotate as much. But the fist and the forearm are pressing hard into the wall. You may be able to squeeze this little muscle over here on the side, the lat, to feel that it is working with your serratus as well, which is slightly deep to that and on the rib cage. Good. Take a break and let's go to the other side. You want to roll your shoulders a bit, you can do that. And then pinky side of the fist on the wall. Reach across, grab the other side of your rib cage. Push first the wall away with the forearm and the fist, and then let the chest move towards the forearm. The hand on the front of the rib cage is monitoring if you're flaring to create that. The band is that feedback in which to press into. Once you've done that a few times, rotate in and out, continuing to press fist and elbow into the wall to create that strong protraction in the shoulder blade. And as you open, slight retraction. Good. Release. For a little stretch of the shoulders, take the band between both of your hands. Hold it about shoulder distance apart. We're just going to roll it up and then down. And as you go to each side, slight tension on the band. This is more of a release for the shoulders. Just notice, can you keep the spine as long as possible? And then bring both arms out. Take the arms out to the side. Try to move the rib cage the opposite way that you're moving your shoulders. Good. Hopefully by now, this feeling of protraction and retraction is becoming a little bit more familiar in your body. It's crazy how hard it can be to find initially. But the more control you have over your shoulder blades, the more your shoulder joint is able to move a little bit more fluidly. So we're going to try now to create some protraction and retraction with our elbows on the blocks. If you want to challenge core wise and just to test what your spine is doing, you can take your foam roller and place it in your low back. We'll kind of let you know how much you're using your spine rather than your shoulder blades. So the goal here is to try to keep the spine as long as possible. So we're going to draw the chin in towards our throat. Move the chest away from the floor. And find where your foam roller can just stay still in your low back. You want to think, as you just did at the wall, of gliding your chest or your rib cage down the inside of your arms, and then pushing your elbows into the blocks in order to move the chest away from the floor. So going down and up. There will be a little bit of rocking of the foam roller in the back, but if it comes up towards your upper back, then you're probably more likely trying to get movement in your shoulder blades by moving your spine. So do that a few times just to see, can you protract, moving the shoulder blades on the outside of the rib cage, and retract, gliding the shoulder blades back towards the spine as you lift and lower your chest away from the floor in that action. So anytime we are loading the shoulders in a stable position, such as plank, we want this protraction. So you can keep the foam roller in your low back if you want. Really push the chest away from the floor by pushing the forearms into the blocks, and then step 1 foot back. Find that stability again, forearms pushed into the blocks. See if you can step the other forearm or leg back into forearm plank on blocks. You can try that scapular push-up in the plank as well. So lowering the whole body down and away from the floor, just through protraction and retraction of your shoulder blades. That looks great. Take a break. We're going to take the blocks down a level, so flatten them out. I'm going to face this way so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to put one fist on the block and the elbow on the other block. So this is just slightly different rotation in the shoulder joint itself. So we'll start again with that protraction and retraction. If you like the foam roller in your low back, it's kind of a test to see if you can do it. That's a good one. You want the fist pressing hard into the block as you move away and towards the blocks. And then you may try the plank from this position as well. So really push the fist down into the blocks, push the elbows into the blocks, and try to step back into plank. So we get that pushing motion, which are those muscles on the sides of our rib cage as well as the chest. They're pushing us away from the block. This is the muscles that we use in a push-up or a plank. Awesome. Take a break. So we're going to start to put some of this stuff into a little bit of a flow. We're going to use the blanket folded narrow, about midway up your mat. We're going to have a block close by, the band somewhere off to the side of your mat. We're going to come down onto our belly. The blanket is going to lie the bottom of the rib cage and the upper belly. You're going to place the block. You might watch this first. You're going to place the block so the lower end is on the top of your pelvis, and the upper end is right where the rib cage and the lower back meet. The arms are by your head. Palms are above your head on the floor. And elbows reach away from your knees. So first we'll start just lying on your belly. We'll start first by finding that nice low breath. So breathing deep into the lungs. With the blanket underneath the ribs, you may feel again that sense of the back of the ribs expanding with the breath. You may also feel a slight lift of that part of your spine towards the block. Next time that the breath lifts towards the block, keep that part of your spine, so the upper part of your low back spine, where the rib cage and the low back meet. Lift that part of the spine towards the block, lifting your lower belly off the floor. Keep the eyes looking down at the ground and lift your upper chest away from you. So your eyes are still looking down at the ground. Elbows are still on the floor, but you've lifted your chest as far away from the floor as you can. Check in with that part of your spine and the low back pressing into the block, not the low back, but the upper low back. Right hand slides forward on the floor. Slide it back. Slide the hand forward on the floor and back. You're lifting the rib cage up into your shoulder blades as you glide the right hand forward and back. Glide the right hand forward. This time, maybe lift the full arm off the ground. Lower the hand, lower it back down. Keep lifting the spine towards the block and the lower back to lift the lower belly off the floor as you stabilize the lower body to just move the right arm forward and then off the floor. Bring the hand behind the back, remove the block. Bring the elbow underneath the shoulder. You're going to bring your right knee out to the side. And then push yourself away from the floor as we've done on the blocks. So lifting up onto both of your forearms. Right hand comes under your right shoulder. You're going to lift the right leg and bring it behind you as you take the left knee forward. So we're sitting now in a 90-90 from this angle. My left knee is in line, so I'm not nearing you at this time. My left knee is in line with my left hip. My left ankle is in line with my knee, so this knee is bent to 90 degrees. And I'm gonna shift this way so you can see what this leg looks like. Left, right knee, right hip, 90-degree band. I'm gonna take the band, place it around that upper back or that upper rib cage, lower rib cage. Bring both hands in line with your front shin. And we're just going to do that protraction and retraction piece. So think ribs press into the band to push away from the floor. Keep that awareness as you just let the sides of the rib cage slide down your inner arms. So protraction, shoulder blades come on the outside of the rib cage. Retraction, they go towards the spine. Chest goes towards the front knee. Chest goes away from the front. Good. Come up. Right, left hand in line with your left hip, right hand behind your head. Lift your rib cage towards the sky. So right side of your rib cage lifts into the band. You're gonna roll your rib cage toward your left arm. Roll your right arm towards the sky. So as you do this, look at your left shoulder when you go down. As you roll open, can you roll the rib cage without letting the shoulder go forward like you just did? So can you keep the shoulder back and let the movement just keep the shoulder blade connected to the rib cage instead of dropping and losing it. So keep pressing your left hand down into the ground. Roll open. And then remove the band. We're going to stack the right knee on top of the left knee. Left elbow is directly under left shoulder. We're going to put all this together as we now go into a side plank. So move your rib cage, your chest back, so that you feel that your shoulder blade and your rib cage are connected. So if this is happening, your shoulder blade is disconnected. So if the head of the shoulder juts forward, use your other hand, press it back and away from your ear. Right hand on your head. And lift in the side plank. And then lift the right knee off. Hand to the front of the rib cage, just check, make sure everything stacks. Bring the left knee or right knee down, and then the hips in. Find that stability, push, lift hips, lift knee. Drop knee, drop hips. And do that 3 more times. Paying really close attention. Can you stay really steady and stable in that shoulder? Making sure there's no movement of the shoulder joint by pushing the forearm and the hand into the floor to lift. And then lower. So we're going to add a little bit of rotation and a reach with this arm. So watch. You're going to come up into that position first. The top leg is going to reach back. I'm going to reach and rotate my chest towards the ground and then go the opposite way. So reach. The top leg goes back, top arm goes forward and maybe touches the floor. So try that. So at least it reaches across, not over the head, but this way. So your chest is rotating towards your forearm on the floor. You want to see it from a different angle. And see if this angle will work. So I'm lifting. I'm reaching. So I'm almost making an X. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. But make sure the whole rib cage rolls towards the floor so you're feeling that protraction in the, on the arm that's on the ground. So I'm doing this to reach. Yes. Good. Come on to your belly. Take a few breaths. And we'll go to the other side. So low back has the block. If the blanket is still there, use the blanket underneath your rib cage. Forehead is on the ground, so chin is tucked towards your throat. Palms are on the ground above the head, fingers spread. Relax the shoulders from the ear. Lift the rib cage into the block. Lift the rib cage into the fronts of the shoulder blades. And then lift the chest away from the foot. So this time we're sliding the left arm forward and back. We're still lifting the chest away from the floor to lift the rib cage into your right shoulder blade as you glide left hand forward and back. All the while, you're trying to move your rib cage into the block and your belly off the floor. Next time you take the arm forward, take it up, and then lift the arm off the floor. Up, lift the arm off the floor. Up, chest can lift higher. Next time you slide it down, you're going to take the hand underneath your shoulder. Usually remove the block first. Take the left hand underneath your shoulder. You're going to bring your left knee out to the side and then roll up and place your elbow underneath your shoulder. You're going to take your left leg behind as you bring the right knee forward. So you're in that supine 90-90. Band. Wrap it around the tips of your shoulder blades. Band underneath your armpit. Grab one hand. Interlace the other hand. So the bands are now in your palms. Lean forward with the hands in line with your ankle and your knee. Breathe into where the band is on your rib cage. Keep the rib cage there as you protract and retract your shoulders. So glide the rib cage down your inner arms and then push the hands, push the ribs into the band. And then take your right hand and line with your right hip. Left hand behind your head. Move your rib cage back into the band. So the band is your feedback. Your right hand pushes the floor away, so your right shoulder is really stable. It's not up towards your ear. It's pushed, and you're going to roll your chest towards your right arm. And then you're going to roll open only as much as you don't dump that shoulder forward. Roll in towards your right arm. Don't let the right shoulder go forward as you roll your rib cage open towards this head. So there's some control going on here. In order to help build stability in the shoulder, we're not trying to get as much of that open movement as we can. We're trying to open only to the level that the ribs stay connected to the band on both sides, and that right shoulder doesn't dump forward. Good. Release that. Get rid of the band. We're going to go into the side plank now on your right elbow. So right elbow to the ground, directly under your right shoulder. We're going to use that awareness of pushing the floor away, so you can either make the fist with the pinky edge pressing down, or if you prefer palm pressing down, but push the floor away to lift the rib cage away from the floor, and then stack your left knee on top of your right. You can either have your hand behind your head, you can have it on your hips, or if you want to check from the rib cage point, you can wrap it around the bottom edge of your rib cage. You're going to start pushing the floor away first, and then lift the hips, lift the top knee. Lower the knee, lower the hips, don't collapse the shoulder. Keep pushing the floor away, lift, lift, lower, just the hips. Lift the hips, lift the knee. Keep pushing the floor away as you lower the hips. Few more, lift, lift. Lower, don't dump into the shoulder, lower the hips. Lift, lift. Take this arm straight up. We're gonna reach the leg behind, try to tap the floor out in front as you look at the right hand and forearm, and then open. Rotate chest towards the floor, rotate open. Rotate chest towards your right arm. Knee and elbow come towards each other. One more time. Good. Lower the knee, lower the hip, come up. Onto a seated position. Bring both arms down in front. Move the rib cage back, lift both arms over your head. Stretch fingertips up. Maybe your bicep starts to tap your ears. Bring your rib cage as if the band or the block, whatever feedback helps you feel this, bit of this. See how straight you can get your arm, turn the palms forward, glide down, glide up, glide down, glide up. Relax, roll your shoulders, and the other one. So hopefully this has helped to make some sort of connection between what it feels like to push and allow the shoulder blade to actually come on the side, and also that awareness of retraction as well. You can try on hands and knees. Doing that protraction and retraction. With the spine straight, so not rounding through any part of your spine. Just think of shoulder blades lifting and lowering your chest close and away from the foot. Good. You can also do this in a dolphin. So forearms on the ground. First, start by pushing the chest away from the floor, elbows into the ground. Lift and look between your toes. And then gaze between your forearms and lower your chin towards your thumbs and then away. Chin towards thumbs and away. So you have that forearm pressing and shoulder blades staying connected to your rib cage as you go forward and back. All right. Well, that's what I have for the shoulder blades. They're very complicated, so if none of this made sense initially, you might try to do it again. Or you might try to find one movement that made sense the most. And just keep repeating that until you get the movement in that position, and then try to take it closer to the ground. The wall is typically the